morning, everyone. Welcome to NAB. Got quite a bit to get through today, so I'll go through what we've got new, and I'll give you a bit of a background on sort of why we designed some of the things we've done. So first up, the biggest problem we had, and the biggest problem we really think we faced in this industry is how do we get Ultra HD content to people? We developed a whole bunch of Ultra HD products over the last few years. And Ultra HD is awesome. The customers are buying Ultra HD TVs, but the big problem we've got is how do we get Ultra HD to people? In the old days you could sell someone a VHS tape, but how do we really solve this problem of getting Ultra HD content to people? And the big question too is how do I get Ultra HD content to people? So what we've done is we've developed this product called Blackmagic Duplicator 4K. And what it does, it records onto 25 SD cards in real-time H.265 compression. And what that means is if you're recording in real time, which is what I'm doing here, at the end of an event, you can basically sell the content. And I think there's two real big problems here that the industry's got, and I think this sort of solves it. How do we actually sell content to people at an event? So if you're doing a rock concert and you want to merchandise the actual show, and I think that's quite important. And it helps. Obviously, really big broadcasters can transmit the content, but how do smaller companies sell their content? How do we use live production tools to be able to generate more revenue for the customers and you can sell content? So you can see it's quite easy to use. It's got some control panel buttons on the front, and then you just plug the cards in. You pretty much just hit record. It's a 12G SDI device, so it handles all frame rates up to Ultra HD 60p. The compression format's H.265, which is designed for Ultra HD, so the data files are not that much bigger than HD files are. And you can see, if you get a bit of a close-up of the buttons here, of course, because we're essentially giving customers an SD card with content on it, we don't want to give them a card full of files. So if you look at the button up the top here, it's got a plus on it. That's an append record button. So what that does is records onto the end of the file you've got. So say you're actually doing a multicam wedding. You might have the ceremony and you're recording the ceremony with a couple of cameras, and it's a fantastic way of doing things like weddings. These small things is where it can be really useful. Then you want to go to the reception. You want to stop. You can change location and then do speeches at the reception. You can start append recording, and it just records on the end of the file, and you can give the customers one file. You don't have to leave them a card full of clips, which is not what they want. Oops, I'll go back. You can see on the back it's got remote in and out and loop-through connections. It'll actually generate remote commands from the remote output port, so you can daisy chain units. So each unit's 25 cards, 25 cards, 25 cards. And you can see them all daisy chained together. So you can pretty much just keep adding units for as much capacity as you need. And any card, if you sell the cards out the front of the unit, anything you're finished with, you can reformat in the unit. So you can just load up again with the cards, the empty slots, and reformat and keep going. SD cards are very, very thin. They're really nice they pack well. If you make a nice wallet, you can, they present really well to customers. And they're on all computers. And televisions, the H.265 files it records, they've got the right encoded audio, so when you put it into a lot of the Ultra HD TVs, they'll read properly and you can actually play them directly on the TV. You use an SD card to USB adapter. We went to the store and about 70% of the televisions in there were Ultra HD models. I've seen Ultra HD models in Target. I've seen them in the supermarket. It's just everywhere. The customers have them. We just don't have any way of, we've got all the production equipment. We did a banner at SMPTE this year which said 100 years of Ultra HD because of, for the film scanner. It's a bit of a joke, but I think people don't realise how much Ultra HD is around. There's so much Ultra HD production going on. There's so many televisions out there. We just need this link to bridge the link between the two. So you can see, the sort of usage cases in the fact that you can just sell the content out the front of the unit to people when they're at the event, when they're excited. Like we had one of the people at Blackmagic went to a school concert. It took 6 weeks to get DVDs of that, and you think, DVDs. This is such old technology. We've kind of lost our way of actually being able to trade our content to people for money. And I don't know why that kind of just disappeared. There's been all sorts of various sort of Blu-ray discs and things, but it just doesn't work. And now we've got Ultra HD, we just don't have any way of delivering it. So, we've been working on this for about 3 years, and it's been quite a large project, but I'm quite happy to finally have it done. You can see you could use it in sporting teams, where you could give all the players a copy of the event. Could I actually get that away so that, sorry, we're just filming, and it'd be good to get that out of the way, sorry. And you can see, in broadcast as well, you're doing large TV program, you can distribute copies to everybody. So it's essentially like, in the old days you used to have a rack of VHS machines. Now you can use these and use SD cards, and they're really cheap, really thin, and easy to distribute. So the Blackmagic duplicator is available now, it's in stock. And we think it should help change the industry quite a bit. I think it's going to make it a lot easier for people to actually trade content with each other. I think everyone gets so excited about the internet and various other ways, but how does a small sort of guy deliver content to people? He can't upload it from servers and do all this complicated stuff. And this is a worldwide issue. It's not just in major cities where you have a bit better internet connections. It's also a problem. People need to trade their content directly with people for money, and that helps our customers do better economically, and I think everyone will benefit. So, cool. Thank you. It's one of those projects where you sort of think, this seems like a really big problem, and hopefully we solve it. So I hope everyone gets it. So it's quite funny when everyone who's seen it so far has been like, oh, this is great. So we're quite relieved. Yeah, exactly. That's it. That's the really interesting stuff. So hopefully it's all good. So the other, of course, thing, we've got a bunch of stuff, of course, and I'll run through them quickly because we don't have a lot of time. Obviously, a larger screen video assist is something people asked us for, so we've come up with a new Blackmagic Video Assist 4K. It's got a larger monitor. You can see it over here. It's got a larger monitor. It's got two SD card slots. But what's good about it, they're UHS 2 slots, so they can record, if you want to record Ultra HD, you can use UHS 2 cards and they'll record Ultra HD on those. Of course, it still records HD on normal SD cards. There's two sockets, so it goes from card to card, so you can keep recording, changing the cards out, so you don't have to stop recording if you're doing an interview or something and you can't stop. Also, on the other side, what's quite unique about it, it's got a full-size BNC connectors, it's got a speaker on the front, it's a larger screen, obviously, but it's also got a couple of mini XLR audio inputs. We've got extremely low noise audio inputs, 128 dB down, and what's important for that is a lot of the sort of lower-end cameras that the video assists get put onto have got quite poor audio specifications, so we wanted to also let people bypass the audio. So now you can add a great monitor, you can add a great recorder, but you can also add a really good quality, extremely quiet audio input and bypass the audio as well. And also, it's a very powerful product. You can see it there with the 5-inch model. You can see on the sides the connectors and the little audio inputs. And on the other side is the SD cards. So you can just keep changing cards out if you want to keep recording. And there you go, there's the SD cards, they just pop in the side. Batteries on the back. It's been a very popular product. It's very flexible. People use it on DSLRs, on rigs. It's a great assist station on URSA Mini. And well, grab me later. We'll talk about that. Obviously, with the Micro Studio camera, you can kind of rig up. We've got a lot of people rigging up some really strange combinations of cameras by using a Micro Studio camera and something like a video assist. And so having a 4K one is great because we can record the 4K off it. So you get all kinds of interesting sort of scenarios where people are rigging it up in interesting ways because it's kind of like you can use the studio camera as a camera head and kind of create your own camera. So Blackmagic Video Assist is available now and it's $8.95 and it's in stock. So next one, I'll move through some of these quickly because there's a bunch of camera news I want to get to, so I'll move through quickly. We have a 4-way multi-view, and the great thing about our multi-view is that each input can be any video standard. It can be SD, HD, or Ultra HD. We've got it running here. It's got audio meters, but also because it's Ultra HD, you can run an Ultra HD display and get full resolution on each quadrant. So it's a very high quality display. I mean, if you use these big large screen TVs make awesome broadcast monitoring. And what's nice is we put it in the Teranex Mini form factor, so you can rack mount it with Teranex Minis. You can actually rack mount multiple multi-view 4s, and if you put one into the other, you can create another quadrant of 4, so you can actually customize the layout you like. You can see the back, it's got loop-through connections and HDMI out and Ethernet and all the usual things. It's got the power supply built into it, so it's a really nice product. You can see it there being used as we've got it here on the front of the booth with audio meters. You can add labeling. That's available now, it's $4.95 and that's in stock. So next up, we have some new microconverters. They're basically simple little tiny microconverters, they're SDI to HDMI, HDMI to SDI. What's unique about them though, is they use a USB connector off smartphones for the power. So you can power them off all the sort of smartphone power supplies, and because computers and televisions have USB sockets, you can power them from the television or the computer. So it's kind of a nice little thing, As you can see it there hanging off the back of a television. or you can use it up on a projector or off a computer. So it's quite simple, very simple little product, but nice. And they're in stock. They're available now. They're $85. So they're quite good. Something you get better and better at this all the time. I couldn't have dreamed of this a few years ago, but it's like, oh wow, look, So we work hard to do these things. This is the tip of the iceberg, is the product. Often there's so much more going on underneath. But the other thing we've actually done, and this is quite exciting, we've done 2 new things with our mini converters. The mini converter SDI to HDMI 4K now has a thing called HDMI Instant Lock. And what we did is, we've got a lot of customers, and some of these monitors take a long time to lock. So we keep the HDMI active out to the display now. So when you plug in, it instantly locks. So if you've actually got a display hanging off a router, as you're punching away the router, it's like a clean switch. It's so fast at locking. And we've got a software update that puts that into the SDI to HDMI mini converter, the 4K one, not the normal one, but the 4K one, and the Teranex Mini SDI to HDMI. And the other thing we've added is we've added a 33-point 3D lookup table into Teranex Mini SDI to HDMI. And that's a really high precision lookup table. You can also take the loop SDI out and make that the output of the lookup table as well. So you can actually turn it into a lookup table processor. And if you add the smart panel on the front, then you can turn on and off the look. It holds 2 lookup tables, and the 1 and 2 button allows you to turn them on and off. So you can see some of the stuff we're starting to do with the Teranex Minis. There's a lot of products we have. We can put a lot more processing power in them than what the software that's currently is. So as we run more software updates out, we can do more things, and Teranex Minis are just starting to get to that point. So that software update, there's 2 different updates that cover the Teranex Minis and also the mini converters. That's available today, this morning, and you can download it. You see a bit of a pattern here. It's whatever you can do on a lookup table will do. So, but come up later and ask if you want to chat about it. So we've got a new Thunderbolt 3's popped up. So we've got a new Thunderbolt 3 version of the UltraStudio 4K Extreme. Thunderbolt 3 is great for us because this product, when we released it, the Thunderbolt 2 was only half the speed of the PCI Express connector on it. So we couldn't do these really high deep bit depth RGB formats, HDR, and things like that. So without using the PCI Express connector. So with Thunderbolt, we now get the full speed. And Thunderbolt 3 is a great standard. It's also, Thunderbolt 3 is popping up on Windows. So it's seen as less a Mac-only standard, but more of a standard that's a general industry standard. So we've got the Thunderbolt 3 version of that product, and it's pretty much otherwise very similar to the other model. It's not quite shipping. It would have been shipping, but we haven't got the certification paperwork through, so we're in a bit of a hole on that, but we're ready to make that any day, so probably May, I guess. It depends when that comes through. Otherwise, it would have been ready. But we do have a software update for this product and the DeckLink 4K Extreme 12G card to add HDR support, and DaVinci's got a whole bunch of HDR grading tools in it. And so this has been released, and this will be available this morning to download, and it adds the HDR support, so now you've got a complete HDR workflow. We've also got a new DeckLink Duo card, and if you know what these are an OEM tool really. They're a multi-channel card. In fact, they look like 2 cards on one computer. This one actually looks like 4 cards, because each one of those connectors can be reassigned to different channels, and you can actually play back or capture 4 channels. So you can play back 4 channels, capture 4 channels. You have HD, that's up to 60p because it's 3G. OEMs use this. The great thing about the card is you can customize. You can have 1 capture channel, 3 playback, 4 playback, 4 capture, whatever you want to do. OEMs like that. They've got 1 SKU they can use to build any kind of system. So it's quite a useful product for the OEMs. And that is $495, and it's available today in stock. Next up, and I'll move through. I want to talk a little bit about our IP strategy. We've been working on this a fair bit, and we've come to some, it's a little bit confusing because there's, we looked at the situations, like some people are saying some things and some people are saying other things, and like, what does all this mean? So we sort of thought, well, what's the point of view of the customer? And from the point of view of the customer, what they're actually looking at, really, the thing that really matters is low-cost HD systems. Nobody wants to go out and buy another 2,000 by 2,000 router in HD, SDI router. They don't want to do that. So my feeling is that from looking at it, what the customers actually want is low cost. They want very low cost. They want to use essentially the gigabit Ethernet they've got and things like that. But the other thing, they want ease of use. They want stuff to work that works the same as equipment they've already got, so that the operators of the stuff have no idea that maybe it's even an IP rating system. And the other thing is they want open standards. They don't want to lose control of their facility. And what worries us is that there's kind of like a bit of a feeling that, oh wow, we can sell new stuff, and we can get in there and put in big systems and lucrative support contracts. And I just don't know whether that's actually what the customers are wanting. These broadcast guys don't want that. So our feeling is what they really want is they want some of the stuff built into products that maybe they already have or that already exist. They want to make it work like stuff that they already have. And also they want control of their facility. They don't want to lose control of their facility to some large corporation who now come in with all their support guys and there's big support costs. They want control of this. So what we've decided to do is we're going to be part of the TCO Alliance, and we've joined that. And what that'll let us do is we're going to add this, and we've had to pay some license fees to allow to do. We're going to be adding some of this into products we're already shipping. So it'll just appear in an update. So customers will be able to download an update, and suddenly there'll be IP endpoints in probably some of the 12G products we have. The other thing we're going to do is we've made our Video Hub driver manage all the IP devices. So none of the control panels that you have will even know that it's an IP-based system. It'll be the same protocol. It'll all work the same. And it is an open standard. It's being worked through to be an open standard. My feeling is the Video Hub part of this is very important. The Video Hub control panels will operate the whole setup. You'll assign sources and destinations to a router. You decide how big you want the router to be, and then when people use it, they just punch along, and there's no difference. In fact, we're demonstrating this on the front of the booth with 4 IP sources running TCO and 2 destinations, and we're literally just routing with a router control panel the whole thing, and it's all being done. You'd never know that it was actually an IP-based system, and I think that's the way to do this. The customers have control because the setup is exactly the same as a Video Hub router setup. They just set it up exactly the same way. It appears in some products that they already have, so they just start trying it. They might try a link between 2 buildings and add another one, route it a bit, and before they know it, they've built something large and they've done it themselves. This is what matters. It's control, low-cost HD, and easy to use. I think they're the things that actually matter. They're the things that the customers are needing. That's what they're expecting from IP. They're expecting openness and control. That's what we should be delivering. If we deliver that, then I think we're aligned properly with what they need. So that's our plans for that, and we'll be announcing pretty soon the kinds of products we'll be putting this into once we've had a bit more time to work it out. But we're really just to lock this strategy in, and we wanted to tell everybody about it, have chats with broadcasters here about that too. So next up, camera news. So we'll get into some camera stuff. Now, we released the studio camera a couple of years ago, and the first thing that happened is the high-end broadcast guys come up to us and said, oh, it's great, but it's got the wrong lens mount. You should put a lens control connector on it. And I kind of thought, yeah, look, that's a good idea. And what was interesting is the mid-range, it took a while for people to understand what this camera was, an all-in-one studio camera. But the high-end guys are the ones that immediately understood what it was because they already know these things. They know what tally is, they know what talkback is, and all these features, and they love the color corrector. The color corrector has been very popular in this. People have been able to actually do DaVinci primary color corrector on the cameras, and they love it. But my feeling was if we did that, if we put a lens control connector on this camera, it would be wrong. They would still be unhappy. It's just not a super high-end product. It's just an all-in-one studio camera. It does the general kind of use. My feeling is that even if we put a big broadcast lens on the front of that with a control connector, you still can't tilt the viewfinder. So our feeling is we needed to really have a solution for that. And we had the URSA Mini project underway at the time, and so we have worked on that, and we've done changes to basically turn URSA Mini into that perfect solution. So we have the B4 lens mount for HD lenses. We've got PL and EF. We've got the lens control connector on the front, so we can do all that. We've got a combination of new Viewfinder, as well as a software update that puts all the studio camera features into URSA Mini. And that will create a really nice studio camera. So you can see it on the front there. It's got a beautiful big tally light, and if we can get the guys to turn that on, you can see what it looks like. So there you see, and it's just wonderful. You've got some camera numbers you can slide in there, so you can customize the camera number. You've got some wonderful joints. In fact, we said to the guys when we were building this that we really just wanted to, the great thing is we've got an all-in-one studio camera. We don't need to compromise on the viewfinder. It doesn't matter really what it costs, just build it and make it amazing, and then we'll just charge whatever that is. Because what mattered was an absolutely, truly professional viewfinder. So if you see on the back, we've got some wonderful controls. We've got some wonderful joints that are very smooth and adjustable. In fact, you can tilt the camera by keeping track of the viewfinder where you want. So you've got some really nice control there that you can control the viewfinder while you're pivoting the camera, which helps if you're tracking, doing golf or something like that, and you need to sort of track the ball, and you just want to hold the viewfinder towards you. So it's great. You can see it's got the tally. It actually supports all the information from the camera, comes up through the same camera control stuff that we do externally through the SDI. So the viewfinder is actually generating all the graphics. It's got some wonderful menus and function buttons there, and you can see you can bring up various menus and change settings. It's got wonderful peaking indicator. You can vary the amount of peaking you want and controls on the brightness, and you can even use your fingertips or the side of your thumb depending how you want to do it. So it's really quite nice. Just mounts on top of the camera. So as I was saying, the data goes up from the camera into the viewfinder, and so all the on-screen graphics in the viewfinder are set on the viewfinder itself, because the viewfinder knows what the camera's doing. So you don't need to worry about going to the camera menus to do that. So the other side of this is the new software update that we've done for the camera, and that adds all the studio camera features into it. So it's got a combination of multiple things. And you can see some of the stuff we've got here. Yeah, there's camera control and talkback. We've got the same YRGB DaVinci color corrector. Most people don't realize what a YRGB color corrector is, but you can adjust color bounce without chasing gains. But the thing I like about it is you can pull the white up a bit. Most people don't realize it's in there. If you touch the Y indicator on the ATEM control software, you can adjust it and you can pop the white out. And it just sort of brings whites and things. It just adds a really nice depth to images. It's beautiful. The DaVinci guys know how this works and they love using it all the time. There's detail control, reference timing, and the headphone connector becomes a talkback headset. So it's really nice. So the viewfinder, well, you can see situations here with using it. So we've got a couple of usage cases in here. So it does now essentially give us a professional studio camera. And because it's a digital film camera, I mean, the pictures look amazing. Even looking out on the front here, I was just like, wow, you just get shocked every time you see it. Because when you see it in that studio camera configuration, it's different than when you're doing a digital film like the short film we did. And then you see it at the front here in a very studio style environment. You just look at the quality and it's amazing. And the viewfinder is just beautiful because it's right in your face and it's big. It looks really nice. It's been a lot of fun. You can see it there being used for some sports, and even in low light it works very well. And the great thing is that that software update, you can get going with that software update just on the lowest cost URSA Mini EF, even the 4K model. And then as you go through, you can then add the viewfinder later. So it helps people get in at the more entry level, then step up. So it's kind of nice. I like when that's possible. It helps people move up, helps them do work and then realize their ambition and sort of get a few more items when they get bigger. You can see even sort of smaller studios, it's great. So the viewfinder itself, it's going to be towards the end of Q3 because it's finished, but we've just got to get the metal and the tooling finished. So these things are, they do all these beautiful shapes and design. We've got to use all these exotic tools and it costs a lot of money, but it's great when you finally get it through because you can get some shapes and styles that you could never otherwise do. But the software that turns the camera into a studio camera and all the URSA Minis, that's available this morning. You can download it now. So you can get going and doing this straight away. And what's nice about it, it adds in a whole bunch of other things as well, which I haven't had time to talk about. There's things like new color signs for the 4K URSA Mini. So it looks a little bit similar to the 4.6K now. And DaVinci Resolve will automatically pick the right color signs when you load the files in. So there's a whole bunch of other updates in that release, but a lot of it was, studio camera stuff. So to move through, and this is one of the crazy fun products. I don't know if you guys know about Arduinos. They're little microcontrollers that you can do custom projects and things with. We've done an SDI board for an Arduino, which allows us to insert the camera control protocol into the SDI stream. So what you can do is activate it. You can do what they call them sketch. Programs are called sketches in Arduinos. You can put your little codes in there and you take them out of the data manual, out of the instruction manual. We publish the codes for the SDI feed in our instruction manual, and then you can just look those codes up and then you can send them to the cameras. It works with all our studio cameras and now URSA Mini, and you can completely control the camera. You can build your own custom CCU. And this is important because the problem is on all our rack-based products, they've got Ethernet connectors and everything we have as an SDK or we publish the protocol. People do all kinds of customized solutions. They might look nice designs, but underneath they're professional broadcast or post-production products, so you have to have all that openness. But the camera control protocol is SDI, and it's hard. You have to build an SDI product to actually make it work and to use it. So with this little Arduino Shield, you'll be able to create all kinds of custom projects. We've got a little board. I actually milled it out myself and put a couple of buttons and knobs on it on the front of the booth, and we're like tweaking the lens and pushing the color corrector and changing the color corrector buttons. It's really funny. Pushing a button and the tally light comes on. It's quite fun. Like I was just saying in the video, I don't know if we did it because we just wanted to play with it or whether actually it's useful. So we're going to, like holding it, crossing our fingers that people will actually like it. But at the dealer event last night, it was fun. People liked it. Really, yeah, it's just cool. It's like, you got to remember that we, at heart, in this industry, the reason it's such a big, full halls full of interesting little companies is because people try things, they experiment. There's this huge community. The thing I love about this industry is a huge community of people tinkering with things and trying stuff and all kinds of fun ideas, and that's the energy of the creativeness that makes this industry, and that's what it's all about. So that's what I love. So this, hopefully, people come up with some interesting little things, So we'll give the sample code away, and it'll be available actually when we start building them. So it'll probably be May or something like that, and it's $95. So they're pretty cheap. But it's probably the world's most sophisticated Arduino Shield, because if you look at what these guys do, they put a temperature sensor or something like that. But this thing's a full SDI board, so it's quite funny. It's quite sophisticated. So another quick thing before we move on to the new operating system, and it's because it's part of the live production side. We've got new ATEM software that adds HyperDeck control into the ATEM switches, and even the TV Studio switcher does this. The ATEM will now control the switches, The HyperDeck, sorry, and they work like real-time media players. So when you bring something on air, it'll auto-play the HyperDeck, and it's like adding full media players to the ATEM Switcher. So you can put any one of our HyperDecks on there, and you just configure it up, tell it to auto-roll if you want, and then when you cut to it, it'll play. They're fully macro controllable. You can control them from the control panels. So you could, for instance, you could use it as an automated spot player, roll credits. You could even, if you wanted to, do replays. You could do slow motion replays by using a macro to configure the playback speed. So you can do quite a lot of power because you can fully program it. You can see there, you just give it labels, you plug it in one of the inputs, and the ATEM software manages the whole thing. And there you see it there. So that software is available this morning for download as well, and you can just download it now, and the guys are showing it on the booth. The guys are actually showing the next version of software as well, where there's some audio meters in the MultiView on the ATEM switches and a few other things as well. But we've got it all running actually on the booth, so you can check it out. So now we get to something that's actually quite important. Last year, we actually only announced half of URSA Mini. This is the other half. So it's kind of like funny. We knew that wasn't ready last year, and we had so many other things we wanted to do in URSA Mini, new sensors and things. We didn't want to really push it too much, but we've been working on a whole new operating system for URSA Mini. And I'd love to show you some of the things it's got. It's got a much more refined user interface. We've got it running over here, but you can see it up on the slides, probably a little bit easier. But now you can adjust things directly from the screen. You don't need to go into menus to do things. So it's a much more powerful operating system. It's essentially multi-threaded, and it's doing all kinds of things simultaneously. So it's going to give us a lot of abilities going forward. But it was kind of half the URSA Mini project, and we only kind of delivered the URSA Mini bit last year. This is the other bit. And you can see on screen now, you just touch things, and you can then control them. So for instance, if you touch the ISO, you can just go and select the ISO directly. This is really nice, if you select the shutter angle, you can now go and change shutter angles, but you can also recommend shutter angles to reduce flicker from lights. So you tell it the power frequency in the settings, and then when you go into the shutter angle, it'll actually it'll calculate some shutter angles for you. Now, if you overcrank or undercrank the camera, it'll still do it. It'll recalculate the shutter angles for you and give you new shutter angles. So it's got a lot of cleverness in there. Plus, you can adjust, you can type in shutter angles directly. So if you just want to go specific shutter angle, you can do that. You can see you can do on-screen overlays. You can adjust those, like even focus peaking, other things like that. So you can adjust them directly from the screen and how much. White bounce now is quite different. You can see you can select different white bounces. You can select default white bounces. You can trim the white bounce. You can even just slide a slider up and down and just set the white bounce, which some people do for a crude color correction in the camera. You can now also white bounce using a white card. You probably wouldn't do it off the guy's nose, but you do it off a white card, but you can do that now and you can get absolute white bounce. You can see the iris on the lens. You can slide a slider up and down and the iris opens and closes, so it's really nice, There's a whole lot of other features as well. Now when you focus zoom, you can slide around with your finger and you can move around the picture on a zoomed in image, so you can see the detail you want to look at to get the sharp focusing by zooming in. You can see the settings are quite different now. You can go straight into settings, and they're quite nice, large buttons. You can change things. And this also lets us put a lot of stuff in that we're really having difficulty to do in the old menuing system. What's particularly nice, you might notice, is we've got 4.6K resolutions for ProRes. They'll be going in there as well. So we've got a lot of extra resolutions that you can choose. You can hierarchy down through the various selections, and you can have a lot of quick control, but it's very fast to use. You can see in here changing some of the speed settings, and there's whole pages of settings that are much, much faster to use, but you don't really have to go in there because you can do a lot of it from the main screen and just immediately change the most common stuff. We've got over here 3D lookup tables in this camera, and we're going to have them activated in the new version, so you'll be able to store 6 lookup tables in the URSA Mini and recall them and load them in on the SDI out or on the LCD or the monitoring out, so you've got some good control over that. We've also got a new metadata page. When we first did our original cinema camera, metadata was something we sort of put in there, but no one had really used it before because it was, the first time we'd implemented it and no one had really done that in a camera. Now, of course, we've got a lot of experience with people using it. So we've been able to redesign the metadata page to make it just work better when you're using a camera. We can also see our media status. You can have a quick indication of what's actually going on with the media very quickly. You can also, we're going to be able to have, not in the first version, but very quickly afterwards, a lot of the work was done on this is to allow localization, so we want to be able to localize the cameras as well. And also we can save, one thing I don't think we had in there is you can also store everything as presets. So you can recall the entire configuration from anything you want. If you're doing different kinds of work, sometimes you've got very different settings for, say, a short film, than you might be if you're just doing some commercial work or something like that. So you can store the whole settings as presets. There's so much more in there. We've got it running on a whole bunch of cameras on the front. The ones that are running the Studio Camera software update don't have it. They're running the new software that's shipping this morning, but the other cameras that are used for digital film demonstrations over there, all the 4.6 ones, they're running it. So you'll be able to check it out on the front of the booth. That'll be available in about July. Yeah, you might be able to. Yes, yes, you can. You save them the disk and you can load them using the media. Yes, because you've got all kinds of things. You can manage the settings in the camera, so you can save settings, you can load settings, you can copy, duplicate, rename, all that. Yeah, you can do all that stuff. Yeah, and like the 3D lookup tables are actually on the CFast media as well, and you can load them in off the disk. You know, so DaVinci Resolve. So there's literally only this and something else left. DaVinci Resolve has got a massive update. We called it 12.5 because it was supposed to be a small update to do all these little refinements. Because I said to the guys, you know, it's the little things that make people go from liking DaVinci Resolve to loving it. But it actually turned out there's some big things in there as well. So I won't go into any detail because we're obviously running out of time. But if you could check our website out, there's actually what's new in DaVinci Resolve 12.5. It's still called 12.5. It should have been 13, but that's probably a bad number. We probably should have called it 14. But it's fantastic. But the good thing is it's actually public beta this morning. So you can download the public beta of the studio version and the free version now and try it out yourself. And one last thing is because of Sintel has been shipping, we did in about, I think the first 10 weeks, we did over 100 units sold, which is amazing. It's actually, weren't arrogant enough to think it would revive film production, but it has actually helped to revive film production a bit. People needed a key code reader, and it's kind of one of the worst kept secrets that we needed to do a key code reader. So we've sort of thought, we'll come along and give everyone a status update on what we're doing with the Sintel scanner. We have a key code reader that we've got and an optical audio pickup. And one of the things we'll be asking people here is, we could make it a key code reader a bit quicker if we just do key codes, but we kind of want to do everything. So we'll be talking to customers about that and showing them reading key codes, but we wanted to show the work in progress of what we've been doing there, and that's on the machine out the front of it as well. So that's pretty much everything. So hopefully there's some nice things in there you like, but we're pretty happy with it. You know? And thanks again for all your support. I mean, everyone's been so great. Everyone just supports us so well, and it means we can just go off and build wonderful things and really nerd it up. So we have such a great time building this stuff, and everyone's worked hard. So thanks, guys. Oh, one other thing is we've been no, all right, we won't do that. All right, no worries. Sorry. No, cool. We're gonna give some copies away, but it's okay. All right, it's okay. What we've got, if someone wanted to get a copy in Ultra HD of the press conference in H.265, we can give you some discs. So yeah, come up.